Yes! I'm rooting for the Dallas Cowboys. Ladies and gentlemen, I know that was real bad. They lost yesterday. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation. First to the Republican and then the Socialists. Yours truly, the exceptional one, is in the hizzy. Mary Brockman by Bouncer is in the house. If you diss her, you diss me, and you will be dismissed from our program. Dave Milner's coming up. This is a big show. Actually, Dave Milner is the body double of the unpleasant blind guy. In the image of Hillary Rodham Clinton, you gotta have a body double. Someone that stands up and goes, hey, yeah, we're all right here. We're all right, man. Mrs. Biggs is watching us on her new and improved computer, laptop. Dude, I mean, she got sound on that thing, propelling all over the house, I tell you. We're excited about tonight because Dave Milner's going to be in the house, the unpleasant blind guy. Yeah, the football season got off yesterday, and there were some people who decided Dave Milner, there were some people that didn't find it essential to do what we do, and that is to respect and honor the flag of the United States of America. Maybe it's better that Beyonce comes out there wearing some leotard, telling these men who are making millions of dollars a year to hate America. Maybe that's a good thing. But I like what Jay Gruden said about his Redskins. Okay, can I go there? Jay Gruden said this about his Redskins. We are the Washington Redskins. My expectation is that every single one of the players will be standing with the coaching staff as we honor the U.S. flag during the national anthem. He made that, I told you 2 weeks ago, he made that abundantly clear. There will be no one. Well, will be absolutely not one Redskin taking a knee. Not unless he happens to be RG3, which is normally someone who takes a shoulder. Oh, poor RG3. Wow. Had a wonderful summer, got rid of his wife, got a new girlfriend, got tattooed with her name on there, and then yesterday's game, bam, the end of his career. Broke his shoulder. I know, it fractured his shoulder. Yeah, you call it what it is, but they put a hurting on that brother. I don't think they will have to worry about him coming back this year. They put a real hurt on that brother. So yeah, I am smitten with NFL because I play NFL fantasy football. Golf Dogs Ron is in my fantasy football league. I don't know if I'm winning this week in the league. Maybe next week. But Golf Dogs Ron, I think he won this week. Okay. So I'll keep you abreast of how that goes. The Pittsburgh Steelers also, because the Pittsburgh Steelers are playing the Redskins tonight, made it abundantly clear, at least their captain of their football team, who some people would consider a threat. I wouldn't. I think it's just due respect of past players that have ended their careers by going into the military and fighting, not coming back, and some who came back and going on to win Super Bowl trophies, just to honor their heritage. Made it abundantly clear, if you choose to sit down, your next practice might be a difficult one to go through. Ladies and gentlemen, take off your wonderful hats and let us begin with honoring the flag of the United States of America. For some of you, you can see the big flag on the live stream set. Some of you can see the little flags. And actually, tomorrow night, I am going to hold for those who have a difficult time reading the actual words to the Pledge of Allegiance so that you will be able to say it with these kids. We expect for you to say it with these kids if you're listening to my program. If you want to take a knee, go ahead. But be careful of the person standing behind you. They might not take too kindly to that. Put your right hand over your heart and join the kids.
Parents, ready, begin. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Woo! Ladies and gentlemen, that's the most exciting thing you can do with your children this year. Now, you feel sorry for RG3. Dave Milner will be joining us momentarily. I love Dave. Dave's my man. And I am telling you, just as Mary has been with me for so long, she is the bouncer extraordinaire. Dave's been with me a very long period of time, and he is a ferocious protector of the U.S. flag, of the American philosophy of exceptionalism, of simply what it means to be a U.S. citizen. And you hear it almost every week whenever we have clips and bits that we play. He does it, and we love him for doing it. Let's see, wait a minute. Can you hear the info? I'll stand by on Skype, ready to take your call. Oh, okay. Wait a minute, let me see if did I get it? Let me go to Facebook real quick. Forgive me. I could be fired for this. I got two staff members who are my executive producers who will fire me, Mrs. Biggs and Mary, because I don't have my stuff together. You do not want those two messing with you. You just have your stuff together, get it together. I tell you. But we're going to call now, without further ado, the Dave Milner, the unpleasant blind guy, man that we truly love, and they say I can't take his number. What is that now? I can't call him. Let me try that one more time. Why am I not getting his telephone number? Dave, do me a great favor, because I'm trying to call the number and the cell number, and that's not helping. That's not working. And trying to figure out how do we do this succinctly, because I want to spend the whole first hour with you on the program. What is this, Dave? What is this? I tell you. Yeah, I called the landline. I tell you what I want to do, ladies and gentlemen, because I love this man. We'll work out the number situation. But in the meantime, I want to play a clip. It's a very long clip, but we're talking about the way back. What we must do to get our country back in order. Let me play that for you right now.
What you are about to hear is meant to transcend time. Its purpose is to draw a line from the visionaries of today to the preservers of tomorrow to the patriots of an age yet to come. I'm Dave Milner. On September the 23rd, 2013, I released a recording I'd been wanting to make for some time. The program that was a minor reason for starting a show in the first place. 2 years from that initial podcast, the threat to individual liberty has only grown, not only in the United States of America, but around the world. This drove me to make notable updates to that original show. The audio may sound different at some points because my recording methods have changed. This is necessary because I intend to run this show once each year as long as I am able. I invite listeners to share links to the following recording with all they know who value personal liberty. Show hosts and producers have my permission to use it as long as I receive proper credit, but far more important are the suggestions and messages it holds. They make up a formula that leads humanity from totalitarian darkness, an outline for the resurgence of the individual, a plan for the way back.
Stand by for action.
Thanks for joining me. My name's Dave Milner. I am a blind guy. I often do shows based on what strikes me. I might see an article or I might hear commentary that I think needs to be addressed or something like that. And this show is no different. What I want to do is address how we find the way back. Now, I think it's become pretty obvious to a lot of people that the United States of America is not the same country that it was when many of us were kids. I think you can say that if you're pretty much over 40 years old. I think it can also be safely said that we have to adopt a variety of strategies and tactics for dealing with this situation so that we can return to a point where personal liberty and a government governed by the people is the norm instead of the other way around, which it is now. I take a lot of techniques and whatnot from pop culture. And some time ago, I saw our personal liberty slipping away. And it reminded me of a series of science fiction books written by Isaac Asimov, the Foundation series. The first 3 Foundation books, Foundation, Foundation and Empire, and Second Foundation, addressed one very important thing. In these books, a galactic empire, which had represented order and peace, was breaking down through decadence, corruption, and other issues. The hero of these books believed that it would take 10,000 years before a new empire that would have real benefits for its people would rise again. So what he tried to do was to create social engineering that would guide people so that instead of 10,000 years, what he called interregnum would only last a single thousand of years. Now, I put that in terms for today because we're very close to, and in fact, I believe personally that we have tipped over the point where personal liberty is no longer a priority in government. It has switched to control. Now, I know, and I think anyone else with sense knows, that there will come a time when the people demand a return of personal liberty. They will see their government as overreaching, dictatorial, heavy-handed. It's already beginning with some, but it's going to take quite a large amount of time, in my opinion, for that to sink in and for the average man and the woman in the street to demand a return to a time when the government will actually be run by the people. Now, this could take some time. If you look at the model of the Soviet Union, what you saw was that the communist system after 1917 lasted for 70 years. And if you look at Russia today, you see that many of the same old hardliners that existed at the end of the Soviet Union are still around and still have influence. They still haven't managed to throw off many of the shackles of totalitarianism that communism has put on them. That being the case, one has to wonder how long it will take us here in the United States of America to return to a point where we demand a government that is run by the people and does not run people itself. Now, I tend to think of this time as an interregnum, as Asimov put it, and I tend to look upon conservatives and libertarians and other independent thinkers as the people who will bring the populace of the United States of America through this interregnum and into a point on the other side where the people will have the tools and the power to once again regain personal liberty. Now, 10 months ago, I wrote a piece, I guess you'd say, called American Sputnik, and it was fairly well received. If you haven't read it, you may want to do that. Now, this was inspired by something that Kurt Schlichter wrote called The Conservative Insurgency. I had these thoughts of some way to manage and preserve the correct information through the leftist interregnum into when it will be needed. But Schlichter kind of beat me to it. He beat me to it by a few days. Not being daunted, I saw one or two things that he hadn't put in and decided to put those in myself. Reiterated a few things that he said and came up with something pretty good. So if anyone hasn't read that, you may want to read The Conservative Insurgency by Kurt Schlichter and American Sputnik by me. I'm going to put both of those in UBG contact on the Twitter. Now, I felt, given the current commentary going on in the conservative community, that it was a good time to revisit American Sputnik and to add a few things to it. Now, I'm not going to read you the entire thing. What I am going to do is give you kind of the general sense of it, and I'm going to expand on it with new thoughts that I've had. And looking at the first paragraph, I see that, yes, the basic premise that I wrote down is still true. The leftists have only gotten stronger in media and pop culture, and conservatives are not going to be able to compete with them in that arena with the same strength. Now, that's not to say we shouldn't compete with them, or that we shouldn't try to compete with them. Not at all. It is saying, however, that we're not as strong as they are. Now, there are some people who are going to look at my whole viewpoint and say that it's defeatist, and that all we need to do is hunker down and work a little harder, and we can win through this thing, and it's all going to be all right. And listen, I'm not saying that people shouldn't try to deal with things as they exist now. I've never served in the military, but I do understand the difference, in this sense at least, between strategy and tactics. In this sense, tactics is how do we deal with something that's here. Strategy is how can we plan for what's coming. And what I'm talking about doing with American Sputnik and what Kurt Schlichter was talking about doing with the conservative insurgency is strategy. It is dealing with the future. And that's not to say that we can't move on all levels to try and restore personal liberty. Anything that we can do that's nonviolent and productive to further the cause of personal liberty and to keep it in the minds of the people is a good thing. No one says that we just have to hold with one technique or one strategy. There are more conservatives than you think, and we can all do different things. We're all good at different things. And this is our strength, I feel. So we all should do these different things. Basically, it's about find what you can do and do it. You don't have to do everything. I know there are some people who say you have to do it all, or you have to at least try to do it all. I say do what you can. Do what you're comfortable with in your abilities, and if you have to leave your comfort zone because you feel that it's important to further the cause, that's even better, okay? But do what you can. And what I and others can do on one front for the personal liberty of people is to talk about strategies moving forward into what I believe is going to be the next century. This leftist dark age is going to take an awful long time, folks. I do not expect to be alive to see the other end of this. It would be nice if I could be, but I don't think I will be. So what I'm going to do is try and lay out some strategies that people can use in the years moving forward. Because if this doesn't stop with us, it can at least start with us. And that's what I talked about in American Sputnik. Now, Americans don't like to wait. We've been raised in a give it to me now culture for the most part. And most of us are impatient. We don't like starting from the start. Baby steps are something we hate, or as Richard Marcinko put it in some of his books, I hate bleeping square one. But that's where we are, and that's what we have to deal with, and that's what we will deal with. Now, as I pointed out in American Sputnik, what we have to do begins with the education of our kids from K through 12 and beyond. What the left wants to do is summed up in Common Core. And Michelle Obama rather chillingly said that we have to change our traditions and we have to change our history. And let me be clear about this, folks. They mean exactly that. Now, you don't believe me? There was a recent story about a textbook being used in Denton, Texas. That's a suburb of Dallas. Denton is, by the way. That supposedly points out supposedly teaches the history of the United States. And in that, it has its version of our Constitution. And in its version of our Constitution, the Second Amendment, as far as this book is concerned, says that people have the right to bear arms as long as they're in a state militia. This is absolutely not what the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States says, but this is what's being taught in our schools. So we have to educate the young ourselves. We have to basically deprogram them because Common Core is going to be the new norm in most schools. If we can get our kids out of public schools and homeschool them, so much the better. If we get them into private schools that have curricula that we approve of, so much the better. But the alternatives for educating our kids are going to grow fewer and fewer as the left slowly tightens its grip on our educational system. They will make sure that no one can get any kind of official certification who hasn't gone through their program. So, what do? As I said, we have to deprogram our kids because brainwashing is exactly what is going on in our public schools right now. Now, who can do this? I think that this is a great place for churches to help. Churches already do a fantastic amount of charity, and since they're organized, they can take up this task as well. People can bring their kids to the churches and they can give them proper education, teaching them respect, but also teaching them that some of the principles that they're being taught in the public schools are just plain wrong, and showing the kids why these are wrong. So that at the other end, we will have kids who understand history, ethics, personal responsibility, and respect. We will also have kids who will understand that they are growing up in a world that increasingly does not believe what they do. We will have to teach our young how to resist the oncoming tide of socialism in a nonviolent and constructive way. And we can do that. That is possible. Now, in American Sputnik, I expanded on an earlier idea that I had called freedom boxes or liberty boxes. These were materials that I felt a future government might proscribe because they do not agree with what these governments might want. And I included things like the Articles of Confederation, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution of the United States. That's as of about 2008. The Federalist Papers, Democracy in America by Alexis de Tocqueville, The Road to Serfdom, history school books. This is history school books that were produced before 1975, or history school books that have been properly vetted and do not have leftist content. The Art of War by Sun Tzu, and I'm adding one here, Lord of the Rings. because Lord of the Rings teaches some very nice moral lessons. What I said in American Sputnik, and what I still say, is if people can gather these materials together, they should be in print, first of all, and they should try and get as many copies as possible. One to save for the future, for a time when the people are going to need to have real blueprints of the kind of government that they can control instead of the other way around, and copies for teaching. Copies for teaching our young. Copies for showing people who have an interest. Because that's what, as Mr. Schlichter puts it, a real insurgency is about in many cases. It's about information. And at this point, the left controls almost all mass media outlets. So we are going to have to approach the problem from the bottom up.
Ladies and gentlemen, the unpleasant blind guy, Dave Milner, giving us examples of the way back. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, as you are listening to us on Red Nation Rising, as you are listening to us on High Plains Pundit Media, where Dan gets the credit and Jane does all the work, and also Sackheads Radio, home of Sackhead Sean, Sackhead Clint, and Free Sacco, along with Mark the Bloviating Zeppelin. We will be right back with more from the Unpleasant Blind Guy on record and as well in person. Stay tuned.
Hey, it's Jersey Joe from the Reaver Common Sense. You can catch me every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on shrmedia.com. That's every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, shrmedia.com.
Now, Brownells, we know you may have only one shot to harvest that trophy, so we have thousands of accessories and replacement parts to improve your chances. We know how much you love to shoot, so our gunsmiths articles and videos will help you do more and get more out of your guns. We also value your hard work and money. That's why only Brownells backs up everything we sell with a 100% unconditional lifetime guarantee. Brownells, the world's largest supplier of firearm accessories and gunsmithing tools.
Dogs is the world's innovator in lightweight casual footwear, utilizing memory foam and EVA technology to give the consumer one of the most lightweight, most comfortable shoes on the market. What makes Dogs one of the leading brands in this category is we've been able to combine comfort, style with affordability. And our customers and our loyal followers enjoy the fact that they can have a comfortable shoe, like I said, that is very stylish, lightweight, and now we're able to offer slip resistancy in our work brands. We're able to offer functionality in our golf brand. So when they're buying Dogs and wearing Dogs, they know that they're getting the best in this category. The one thing that we've been very fortunate to experience is that a lot of our customers tend to come back to Dogs to buy some of our other styles, or they'll buy additional colors. We find, again, because of our comfort and the durability of the shoe, that our customers tend to come back again and again to purchase our new products. Because Dogs offer such a wide variety of styles, you're able to actually purchase Dogs in uniform supply stores, golf stores, green grass stores. You can purchase, of course, online at usadogs.com. That's DAWGS. And you can also go to a lot of our web partners, such as ShoeBuy and Amazon, and purchase shoes directly through all the major online retailers as well.
Times are dark. The people are misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation looking for direction needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, Pundit Press, Live Rebooting Liberty, and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because the truth is not always pleasant.
We'll be back with more of the best in urban conservative talk.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
A team of ordinary men who emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying Catholics.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Saka as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
From coast to coast, there is one bank focused on building a better future. One bank with programs you can trust to help boost your economic picture. One United Bank. With rates better than the national average, no hidden fees, and even cashback debit cards, you will feel the boost in your budget. One United Bank, the premier bank for urban communities in Boston, Miami, and Los Angeles. Visit us at oneunited.com or call 877-1UNITED today. Member FDIC.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Exception Conservative Show live from the nation's capital. Our very good friend we've been focusing on tonight, the underground professor's body double happens to be none other than Dave Milner. And Dave Milner has done a wonderful work, leaving a legacy behind for individuals dealing with the matter of liberty which is lost on a generation that's been entitled for so long. We've been playing the first 15 minutes of his program. We're going to do a quick interview with Dave Milner, and then we're going to do the final 15. But without further ado, the body double for the unpleasant blind guy, Dave Milner. Good evening, sir. It's a great honor and privilege to have you on the air with us.
Ken, it's a real pleasure to be here. The actual Dave Milner was overheated tonight from an allergic reaction through pneumonia, and that caused him to have a Bigfoot sighting, and he's flying away on a UFO now. So stay tuned because things are happening.
Things are happening.
Things just popping all over.
But I felt real bad for Dave Milner because Cookie Roberts earlier in the day came on to NPR and said that Dave Milner might be thrown out and they just might go solo with the unpleasant blind guy. So, it's tough crowd. It's a real tough crowd for you.
It's tough. It's always a tough room. You know how it is when you're a minority. You're trying to get through. And a decided man trying to keep you down. Doing stuff trying to steal your cane, poison your dog,
whatever it takes.
Yeah. Yeah, they do that. Yeah, they're all racist and this is and that is and this is folks and that is folks. That how it is.
I understand. I'm down with you, brother. You know what I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
Dave Milner, the unpleasant blog. And listen, God bless you. We thank you so much for every week. There's a different clip that you give us. The shorts, sometimes 3, sometimes 5, sometimes 8. However, but they are so succinct and so poignant for the message of the day.
Yeah.
Why were you motivated to do this one regarding liberty?
Well, this is an idea that I've had for a long time. I mean, honestly, it's been percolating in my head since the 1970s. Believe it or not, I got this idea off an old episode. You remember the old Planet of the Apes show?
Yes.
They came across a collection of human knowledge of the humans, and the apes found that. They said, destroy everything in here. Let's get rid of all this. And that was that stayed in my mind because I like science fiction and stuff like that. But that stayed in my mind because I realized that knowledge, even at that age, I realized that knowledge is the one thing that lasts and the one thing that can preserve civilization, whatever happens. Uh, and then the Obamas got into office, and rather chillingly, Michelle Obama said, "Oh, we have to change our history." And that sent a chill up my spine and a lot of other people's, because Ken, that our history is our past. It's what motivates us all, and propels us into the future. And I've seen all of this regressiveness
Yeah.
when it comes to our Constitution, our founding fathers, what personal liberty really means to people, what promoting the general welfare really means to people. There has been an attempt out there to change day to night, to change wet to dry, to change dark to light, and in my view, whatever happens, we have to do what we can to preserve the wisdom that the people came up with that allowed us to have one concept, which is self rule. Because to my mind, uh, you put this best, okay? It is liberation. Self rule is liberation of the people. And
Mhm.
if your listeners out there, wherever they are, that is the basis of what I'm talking about is self-rule, your business being your business, not the state's business. And that's the essence of it. And you now have people who, whether they're in academia, whether they're in government or whatever, who want to control that information and change it. And uh, as Michelle Obama said, change history, change our traditions, change, well, as she put it, change the conversation.
Exactly.
And what I want to do is two things. As I said, I want to I want people to gather together the wisdom, the books of wisdom that they know, older history books. Um, in the for the Christians, gather together the Bible. You must have that. Um, gather together things like the Federalist Papers, the Anti-Federalist Papers. That may be even more important. Um, gather together all of these touchstones of what laid out the country that allowed the eradication of slavery in a world now which can you observe yourself in a world now where slavery is seeing a resurgence thanks to the Mohammedans. Um, because I feel that there will come a time when this knowledge is not only discouraged from teaching, will actually be proscribed.
Yeah.
Things like the Declaration of Independence, possibly one of the most dangerous documents in history. And there may come a time when the government says, no, no, you can't have that. You can't have a document that says that the people have to replace government if it becomes too pernicious. You can't have that. So what I'm saying is, gather two copies of that together. Gather one to save for a generation yet to come, one that you may not even see, and gather another one to teach with, to teach your young with, even if the schools won't, and the schools aren't. They're not teaching civics. They're not teaching these basic things. What
Mhm.
they're teaching is social justice and things of that nature. And here is the key, Ken. When you have those basics, the basics of self rule, then you understand what real social justice is.
Now, I want to ask you in this regard because as we talk with Dave Milner, the unpleasant blind guy, the voice behind the voice of great work in conservative media, uh, you mentioned media. Now, I want you to understand that I was persecuted since late July, and you may have noted this, when I really began focusing on Hillary Clinton's health conditions.
Mm-hmm.
And denoting that there is something seriously wrong with her. This is not just a cough, a sniffle, allergies. There's something wrong with this woman. And I was
Mm-hmm.
belabored by those in the mainstream media. or the lamestream media, as I like to say, who said that it's wrong for us to pay attention to her private health. That's her private business. She keeps it to herself. Uh, then we see over the time frame, again, seizures that occur, coughing fits, up until last week. And she comes out and she says, hey, I have allergies, and that's why I'm coughing. Then we find out on Sunday that she was diagnosed with pneumonia on Friday, but no one said anything, right? And now there are concerns, Cookie Roberts being one of the ones who are relaying that concern from the White House, that it might be time to take Hillary out of the race and find someone else because of her health conditions. All the time, the media is telling us there's nothing to see here. Turn your head, look over there. Oh, Donald Trump. So I want to ask you, sir, how much faith and confidence do you have in the media to preserve the history of the United States of America?
Absolutely none. I mean, it has fallen to us now. It's fallen to the people and to the people's wisdom and to the wisdom of people like yourself. Now, part of the reason I wanted to do this, Ken, is because I wanted to pick your brains. I'm going to make this a part of a companion show that I'm going to do after I broadcast the way back again here in maybe about next week, and I'm going to call it the way back commentaries. I want you to tell me and your listeners what materials you yourself would preserve so that a future generation, maybe one even 1,000 years from now, might use to create another republic. What books can, what materials, what wisdom from our day and from the past would you say?
Me, I would say first and foremost that the Holy Bible would be the one thing, and not any of the latter versions which are kept in today's great halls of sacred honor, the NIV and the LGBTQRS. None of those versions. I would say that you would have to go back to the Hebrew Greek interlinear Bible, that it would be left behind, English interlinear Bible, so there would be an exact science to read from. You know exactly what God was talking about. Of course, the Law of Success would be a great book to read in terms of the principles that one must have in terms of being effective in business. And many of the writings that you spoke of, the Declaration of Independence, the original Declaration of Independence, the one that was written by Thomas Jefferson before it went to committee. When it was put in committee, certain things were pulled out in order to make it a unifiable document for all of the colonies. A lot of people say that it was a North and South thing. It really wasn't, because slavery was across the entire 13 colonies. The 13 colonies were part of the British rule. Britain was a slave nation. So slavery existed in all 13 of the colonies. It wasn't a North-South thing until we get into the Civil War period. So
Yes,
having the original declaration where Thomas Jefferson says, we want the abolition of slavery. And of course, the Articles of Confederation and as well the Constitution itself, but also the Anti-Federalist Papers. We went through a series just a couple of weeks ago with the great professor, Dr. Michael Jones, who allows me to go on the air with him because he is so glorious and so righteous and such a sacred man. I am humbled merely to be in the presence of his breath. He allowed me to go on, and we talked about the comparison of the Federalists versus the Anti-Federalist Papers. And actually, if this country was left to the Anti-Federalists, we would be more free today than we ever were. The prophecies of the Anti-Federalists have all come to pass, with the signatory of Barack Obama signing in front of a 13-year-old boy who later goes on to be an 18-year-old candidate for transsexual surgery. I got to tell you all about that one. The Obamacare, which secured health care at the public level and satisfied the second Bill of Rights under FDR. So I would say those particular things. And I'm quite certain out of, I know White Mamba would tell us that we would need to keep blacks' laws, blacks. He'll tell us in the chat room the laws written by it was a Blackstone or Black, but
you're not talking about the Code of Hammurabi, are you?
No, not the. Although that should be in there, the Code of Hammurabi should definitely be in there. But also,
Right.
in Britain, there was a gentleman who wrote the actual interpretations of how the law should be handled in court and out of court, and it doesn't come to my mind just yet, but I will definitely come.
Understood. Well,
Yeah.
The Rights of Englishmen is one, and there is another one. I think you might be talking about one in reference something Blackstone.
Yes.
The Blackstone Declaration or something like that. That may be right. That may be wrong. I don't know.
Also,
but I believe I understand what you're talking about.
Also, the Magna Carta should definitely be in there, so that we understand where do we get the concept of freedom and liberty and rule of law for all men, not just those who happen to be under the Secretary of State or the President of the President of the United States of America. That's my best guess. Commentaries on the laws of England, Sir William Blackstone. There you go.
There you are. Yes, that's a great one, Ken. And those are. I especially like your pick of the original Declaration, because if things keep going the way they're going, the strong anti-slavery message is going to have to be prevalent in that future time, whenever it is, especially if we have an Islamo-fascist regime that we are trying to topple, or if there is one that has been toppled. The speech against slavery and in slavery's eradication then and forever will have to be a very large portion of it. So I appreciate that input.
Well, thank you so much. And just one other thing for you, because you have been a magnanimous piece of communique and intelligence and stalwart pioneering in the field of media. And you have endeared me to come behind you in the process of spreading the good news of conservatism and liberation to the world. I want to ask you, how impactful has at least Mohammedanism been in the last 100 years in the United States of America? And do you feel that that is one of the great threats to liberty in our nation?
In the past 100 years, it is, not as much cumulatively as you would think. In the past, say, excuse me, since about World War II, it has become more and more of a threat, to the point now where it is the most existential threat to the personal liberty of the entire civilized world, not just the United States. We are standing on the precipice now of a time when we could possibly regress to a point 1,400 years ago, when Mohammedanism first began, with Muhammad writing the hadiths and things of that nature. We are standing at the precipice of a very barbaric time, and this is what frightens me a bit about progressives, is that while they have aided us a bit in the progression socially of humankind to the point where we are, where we were able to make the 1,000-year leap in about 100 years.
Yeah.
They are now aiding in the regression of society from that pinnacle. And in my opinion, as a Christian, they are aiding Lucifer. They are aiding Satan.
Yeah.
But if you want to just go secular about it, they are aiding in the social regression now in the name of diversity, political correctness, and multiculturalism. It I try to warn progressives all of the time. Look at what you're doing. Look at the results of what happens when Muslims reach a certain population density in any area. Be very mindful. Bill Maher is about the only progressive that I know of that has heeded these warnings at all. I would say, Ken, to answer your question, that at this point, the past 100 years, not so much, but yes, since World War II, it is the. We used to think that communism was the worst possible danger. It pales in comparison to Mohammedanism.
Now, I just real quick, because I think you hit on a very big point there. Because I've been told that I'm part of the deplorable ones, and I believe that you also qualify. If you filled out the application for Hillary Rodham Clinton, you can also be deplorable. Uh, but there are
Yes.
so many uh, women in America that will stand in line in support of the whole concept of Islam. Uh, please explain to these young ladies uh, just exactly what Islam does to your liberties and rights and your free will, and why they should listen to your program so that they might be slightly enlightened before they go to their next feminist meeting.
Well, as a all you have to do really is go to the United Nations website. Look for the figures on female genital mutilation. Now, one of the big things that women have done over the past 50 and 60 years is say we want to enjoy sex the same as men do. But if you look at female genital mutilation, which is done by Mohammedans, this is done so that women cannot enjoy sex. And this is done by an individual called the cutter. They're not even really a doctor. They go in with a razor blade and they cut the woman's clitoris so that she cannot enjoy sex. And that is only where it starts. A woman is considered mostly property. Um, she does not have any of the same rights that a man does. If a man wants to divorce his wife, all he has to do is he can tell her in person. I believe the phrase is talak, 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 and they're divorced. From what I understand, he can even text that to his wife. They're done. The woman has. That's right. The woman has to go before a Sharia court
Thank you, Mark
and
Zuckerberg.
request a divorce. Yes. Thank you, Mark. Yeah. Big help there. The woman has to go before a Sharia court and ask if a woman is raped in a country that recognizes Sharia as law. She It must be witnessed by 7 men, and that must go to a Sharia court. Um, Women in many of these Arabic countries are not allowed to drive. They're not allowed to leave the home without a male member of their family. They are not allowed to work without permission from a male member of their family. In many instances, this depends on the flavor of Islam that you're talking about. When a boy reaches a certain age in the household, um, after the father, he is over all of the women in the household, including the mother. And for you feminists out there, um, look up the figures on honor killings. These are killings of young Islamic women who happen to find a young non-Islamic man attractive, or who might wear lipstick in public, or things of that nature. The people who carry out most of those honor killings are women. So this is women killing women
Women.
so that they can preserve the oppression of women.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to the Exceptional Consider Show live from Nation's Capital. We thank you so much for tuning in. You've been listening to the wonderful, the great, unpleasant blind guy, Milner. I make that mistake all the time. Ladies and gentlemen, and I want to thank you all so
Love you,
much
man.
at Red Nation Rising for tuning in and listening to us, and as well SHR Media, High Plains Pundit Media, Livestream, Ustream. We'll be back with the second half. Mark the Bloviating Zeppelin will be with us. This will not be the last time you hear Dave Milner on our program. God bless you, sir. Thank you so much.
God bless you, brother. Take care.
You too. We'll be right back with more of the best. Mark Bloviating Zeppelin will join us. Take it away, man. Rock my soul.
From day's first light till night's last glimmer, your satisfaction is our responsibility. On the range or in the field of duty, you can rely on Brownell's lifetime guaranteed gun parts, tools, and supplies. Anytime, any place. It's how we've done business since 1939. Brownell's.
Hi, my name is Christopher Arnold. I'm the executive chef of Infused Restaurant, and today I'm gonna walk you through some of the meals that we prepare here. We're making a pizza. We're using fresh Italian sausage that we cook here and slice it up. Our pizza dough is in-house made. Our pizza sauce is in-house made. So everything is fresh and ingredient. This is our Thai curry chicken. The sauce is made of coconut milk and the Thai red curry. It is juicy chicken thighs as well as some mixed vegetables, served with jasmine rice and pita bread. So now we're going to prepare our famous blackened tilapia and grits, our fish and grits on the menu. Once the fish is ready, then our meal will be complete. Let me tell you about our infused beef burger. When we kick the spice up just a little bit with our infused sauce. We start off with 80-20 USDA round chuck ham patty burgers, like half a pound of burgers, and we're gonna grill it to perfection. After I flip the burger, we add the sauce and let it cook on into the meat just a little bit. We're gonna add a little bit of pepper jack cheese to this burger to spice it up a bit. All right.
6339 Allentown Road. Baby, make it your home. 6339 Allentown Road, Temple Hills, Maryland. Get your food, your grub on. We will be right back right after this message with none other than Mark the Bloviating Zeppelin. You are listening to the Exceptional Conservative Show live from the nation's capital. We are certainly not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation, first to the Republican and then the Socialist.
Have you heard the news? There's more to Prime than free. 2-day shipping on shoes. There are tons of movies ready to stream. It's like living in a film lover's dream. More to Prime. More to Prime.
I want to join. How much should I pay?
You can sign up for a free trial today. So let's say it one more time. There's more to Prime.
Hey, it's Jersey Joe from the Reaver Common Sense. You can catch me every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on shrmedia.com. That's every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, shrmedia.com.
Times are dark. The people are misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation looking for direction needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, Pundit Press, Live Rebooting Liberty, and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because the truth is not always pleasant.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians.
You got a business. You didn't build that.
A team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying Catholics.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Saka as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
Don't stop feasting on the flavor of urban conservative talk. Go to the exceptionalconservativeshow.com. There you can Facebook us, tweet us through Twitter, download our podcast and our mobile app. Listen, take us wherever you go.
Pretending that I'm doing well. My need is such, I pretend too much. I'm lonely, but no one can tell. Oh, yes, I'm the great pretender. Adrift in a world.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think that's what the Redskins are singing tonight. I am the great pretender. Wow, they getting beat bad on tonight, but I'm still a fan. I doubt very seriously if anyone took a knee. That's the important thing. You don't want anyone taking a knee, especially if you're going to lose. I want you all to know that I outscored Golf Dogs Ron and his team in our fantasy football league that we're in. I don't think he has any more. Yeah, he has one more player. And I don't know if that player's going to get any points. But as of right now, I've outscored Ron. But I'm not playing Ron. I've actually lost against my opponent. Apparently, I've played someone who had more points than me. I feel like the Redskins this evening. But someone who doesn't feel like the Redskins this evening, someone who is generally known as a superstar of conservative talk, so much so that soon he will have his own program because the star is so immense that he is overshadowing Sackhead Sean, Sackhead Clint, and Free Sacco, none other than Mark the Bloviating Zeppelin. When you're a big star like him, firstly, we're calling his limo right about here. This is how big a star he is. We're calling his limo. Hopefully he'll answer. Probably has some starlets in there. Access to the old winery stand there. We are talking with none other than Mark the Bloviating Zeppelin, whose work can be found on the Bloviating Zeppelin. Bloviatingzeppelin.net, in fact. Good evening, sir.
Hello. The number you have reached, 911, has been. Number is 912. Please make a note of it. This message will repeat in 5 seconds.
I'm being raped right now. Sure, I got time to make another phone call. Yeah, there you go. Mark the Bloviating Zeppelin. Good evening, sir. It's a great privilege to have you on the air.
Well, good evening to you, sir. And it's so disappointing and so depressing because, really, when you think about it, there's nothing to talk about. What are you going to talk about? I mean, we could talk about the weather.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 70 degrees in D.C. right now, right?
Yeah.
70 degrees?
Yeah, but I'm overheating.
Okay. Okay, I have a question for you, though.
Yes, sir.
I have a question. Okay, according to my clock out here on the left coast, I have about 7:10. The clock behind you says 9:25, it looks like. How does that happen?
Well, I am actually trying to reach those people who happen to be on the Atlantic side of the world. So this is for the Canadians who are listening in Atlantic time zone.
It changes that to, okay, it's a temporal universe is apparently what it is.
Yeah,
but isn't that sad? Don't you regret that there really is nothing going on these days? There's no news, nothing has been happening. It was an extremely boring weekend, blah, blah, blah. So, what else is there to talk about except the weather? And the time.
If only Donald Trump had done something ridiculous, then that would have taken care of the entire weekend. But
I know, then it would have been gloriously entertaining.
Yeah. I want to first talk with you before we get into the news of the weekend, because you are a great writer, a writer that I truly adore reading. Because you actually
you make me blush.
No, well, you include illustrations, so you make it easier for me to read.
Well, listen, I have to admit, I learned that from Playboy magazine.
There you go. That's the spirit. That makes you an American.
I only read it for the articles, all right? I only read it for the articles.
Thank you. I don't know why people were looking over my shoulder. Because I was reading the article. But Mark, Obama wants everyone to be poor and needy. Is it working?
Is what working?
That Obama wants everyone to be poor and needy. Evidence wants you poor and dependent. Your article that you wrote on Friday, September the 9th, regarding the biggest slave owner in U.S. history being Barack Hussein Obama.
Well, I think the bottom line is no matter what Mr. Obama says, you really do have to believe him.
Okay. And that takes care of that segment. All right, so the next thing. I believe Mr. Obama. I believe Mr. Obama.
There you go.
But the concept
here.
Know,
it's funny you should.
No,
go ahead.
No. You go right ahead.
It's funny because there's a particular individual, a journalist that I know, that I've known for quite some time, named Susan Katz Keating. And she had an article that came out about 2 days ago. And I'm going to be dealing with that, I'm not sure, either tomorrow or the next day. And basically it indicates that the hostage rescue was aborted. Her headline is specifically, hostage rescue was aborted while Obama vacationed. And when she posted this article on the, let's see, what day is this? Okay, it's more than a couple of days. Well, yeah, it's September 8th is when it came out, in the evening. And she received a not too long from the publication of this particular article, you can find it on the MMInewswire.com. And she received a nastygram from the White House itself after the publication of this article, and asked for an immediate retraction. However, she stands by her sources, and she stands by what she said. And I would highly recommend, I'm going to write about it, like I say, tomorrow or the next day.
Okay.
Because there's so much, it's like I don't have enough time in the day to sit and write about all the craziness, the insanity that's going on. So
Exactly.
I'll tell you what, there's so much, I don't even know where to start. I'll let you start. You point and I'll follow.
Okay, well, let me just give you accolade for your writings on the 15 years after 9/11 and the attention that you showed when it really happened on that day. Because our kids today don't, I mean, even then there was censorship of the stuff that was going on that particular day. And people were caught up, of course, with the Twin Towers falling and planes being flown into them, and the concept that Katie Couric is probably the most ignorant person who's ever been behind or in front of the television camera, because she was really ignorant on that day. But there were people jumping out of the Twin Towers, and during the course of the day, people were saying, or at least that morning, don't worry, everything's okay. You're going to make it. We're going to get you out. Over 200 people jumped from like 78th floor and up because they didn't want to die a certain way. Your thoughts on the writing that you had on this weekend?
I've basically been wanting to write this particular piece for about 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that everybody that's listening now live on the podcast, you can all remember where you were on September 11th back in 2001. I certainly can. You can remember the first plane hitting. And you can say to yourself, well, we all said to ourselves, that's terrible. That is just completely terrible. Oh my gosh, I hope they respond to it. We'll just have to wait and see how that building fares. The second plane hit, and when it hit, everyone watching who saw it occur knew immediately, this is not normal, this is terrorism, period, end of statement. Whether we're left-leaning, right-leaning, it doesn't matter politically where you stand, you knew upon that impact that was terrorism, and you were watching it, and you were watching it live.
Well, Katie Couric did not know that. She thought it was an accident. That happened twice.
Well, except for those of us from a daft nature who have no common sense whatsoever, except for that exception, most of us had a pretty good idea what was occurring in front of us.
Exactly.
But after that point, I think probably about a day or so later, after the emotional toll that it took on everyone, and I have to admit, I was way out on the left coast. The closer you get to New York and the closer you get to the East Coast where all of these things occurred, more personal it is for you. And even so, way over on the left coast, I mean, I'm just about as far away from that as could possibly be. About a day after that, I started thinking, what the hell happened to those persons that were up there in that building?
Yeah.
What were they thinking? What did they go through? What would it have been like to have been them? And then I started to think, I've been wanting to write this for quite some time, and I want people to see and think and understand what it was that truly transpired with the lives of the people that were killed that day. You can still go onto YouTube and you can find some of the videos I placed up in the article. But many of the sights and the sounds have all been sanitized and they've kind of been scrubbed from the media. And the thing to do, perhaps now, is to avoid speaking or reading about these things. We'll wave a few flags, we'll watch some fireworks, and that'll be the end of it. Because we find those things right now where it's too disturbing, it's too graphic. Our little dainty sensibilities might become offended. And so what I went into the article is try to physically explain what happened first, and then if you were there, what perhaps you were thinking. And so the first thing I thought of is, you know, those buildings came down. And when they toppled, my first thought was, what kind of weight are we talking about? And what would have happened to someone that would have been within those buildings? And the bottom, the immediate answer is, each building weighed 1 million tons.
Yeah.
So basically, when both of those buildings came down on people, that was 2 billion pounds of concrete and steel falling down upon everyone and surrounding it. That would have just about liquefied flesh. And it certainly occurred to those people when the airliners, when they impacted. And so one of the things that I was thinking about is, okay, can you imagine being a jumper, someone that was there, and you weren't dead yet, and you jumped out a window, and then you fell to the ground, and not only was that the first offense, the body and your soul had to go through a second offense, because then subsequently the entire building fell down on you. Well, let's think about what happened for that, just for a moment. When someone jumps out of a particular building, the human body reaches what is called terminal velocity, or basically any object except a feather, and it's about 122 miles an hour. Terminal velocity is not reached until about 1,800 feet has transpired, gone by. The Twin Towers were 1,362 feet tall. So that means that terminal velocity of 122 miles an hour would not have been reached, so the people jumping reached between 100 and 110 miles an hour upon that point of impact with the concrete blow. So what happens, can you imagine if you've ever jumped off of I don't know, maybe something into a swimming pool, and you were on a diving board, and maybe that diving board was 5 feet up, or maybe you were really brave, and you jumped off a diving board that was in some other pools, maybe 10 feet tall, and you can probably remember that if you didn't land just right, even jumping into the water, that hurt. Yes! That absolutely hurt. Well, you know, we have no concept of what these people went through. I have a fairly good idea. But here, if they were still alive, and they were, the bulk of them, there was some kind of a thing that went out for a while saying most of these people were dead before they jumped.
Yes.
Oh, they were awake. I'd say the bulk of them were completely conscious. And from that particular height, depending on what floor they were on, they had a full 10 to 14 seconds to realize and to know what they were doing. So let's say you were an employee in the World Trade Center that day. You wouldn't know what the hell was happening to you, because we have the fortunate ability to see and to know what happened. But you're there knowing that you're going to burn to death by way of the flames behind you, or you can try to knock on a window. But if you don't knock on the window, guess what? You're going to burn to death. If you knock out a window on that particular area because of the fire triangle, oxygen enriches the flames and they burn even hotter. Oh, good luck for you.
Yeah.
So what do? Do you turn to face the flames knowing that you're simply going to burn, or do you do what all those other people, 200 plus people, did, out into the nothingness, out into the firmament? Flames looking at your back. What kind of a choice is that? And I was wondering, and then I finally realized, before you do it, you're going to look back. And you think, this is how my life ends.
Wow.
This is how I end. I did what I did. I only have two choices. I can stay and burn and die, or I can jump, have my life prolonged by 14, 15 seconds, and die. It doesn't make any difference. Either way, you lose. And then you may ask, how did I get here? Really, it doesn't matter. You're there now. And so to have that choice made for you that day is staggering. And we all have to understand, ladies and gentlemen, 15 years ago, that's how 3,000 Americans died. Some had no idea what occurred to them and died immediately.
Yeah.
Some died terrible deaths of flames. Some had a few moments to cogitate about what was going to happen to them next. Some were in that building trapped for minutes or perhaps an hour. Each individual story is different, but except for the persons that physically got out, the end story is still the same. They died.
Wow.
And we have to realize that. We have to remember that's what 9/11 meant to those individuals. We need to think about what they were thinking at the time that they perished. 3,000 Americans dying on American soil who woke up that particular morning and thinking that they were simply going to do nothing more complicated than go to work. That's what 9/11 means to me.
Mark, the Bloviating Zeppelin, is with us tonight, and we were talking about 9/11, 2001. There was a second 9/11, 2012, and a woman who had actually $2 billion sitting in the treasury of the State Department who could have protected those individuals involved in 9/11, 2012 were not protected at all. And one found himself after being dragged through the streets and raped mercilessly and beaten and killed, was dropped off at a hospital. He happened to be Ambassador Stevens. How did this woman who showed up at 9/11, amazing, she shows up, and I would have been more agitated than anyone there, and probably that's why I wasn't invited. She shows up in New York at 9/11 remembrance, and she, along with Barack Obama, who gave a speech there, are directly responsible for 9/11, 2012. Your thoughts?
First things first. It's good to try to personalize things because almost everything is personal. One of the largest abrogations that I think occurs in modern society is that those persons, politicians, administrators, people in places of power are purposely separated from impact of their decisions under some kind of an ideal notion that they should be able to make decisions in a vacuum. And life is not like that.
Yeah.
The decisions that you make, the decisions that politicians make, the decisions that people on every government level make impact other persons. And people tend to take that personally. And I think that needs to be remembered. I don't think that there hasn't been a self-serving thought in Hillary Clinton's head for nigh on 35 to 40 years.
Yeah.
And I think that's true of Bill Clinton. And anything that they make, any kind of a decision they make, their histories, their lives, their circumstances, the things that surround them, the deference with which they are treated, enables them to live so perfectly within a bubble, if you will, where they don't understand, nor are they interested or inclined to understand the ramifications of their decisions. It's easier to sit in a room when a consulate is invaded and watch it over a TV monitor,
Yeah.
and attempt to simply observe what it occurs, and then a short time later decide politically how this is going to be handled, and in what fashion we're going to craft carefully the narrative that is going to result. In other words, the truth can go straight to hell.
Yeah.
And there will have to be a woven narrative then explained by others first and then supported by people in the administration. I completely believe that one of the greatest motivators for the attempt to minimize Benghazi is the Barack Hussein Obama meme that ISIS has been defeated, Al-Qaeda has been defeated, and we have them on the run. Anything and everything that goes against that particular meme cannot be supported, and therefore we cannot have that exposed to the American public because Barack Obama has already said these things. Secondly, I believe that there was likely some gun running that occurred. But the fourth thing is that Christopher Stevens was sent to this particular consulate after this consulate, it's exponential, it's geometric, it's like a terrible, terrible political yet bloody octopus that keeps growing and is so incredibly intertwined, and it dovetails with everything else. The consulate was deprived of security. They knew that the security was terrible. They had asked for prior better security components, and they were refused. One of the reasons that they were refused is because that went against the theme that we were winning in the Middle East. We were winning hearts, and we were winning minds. Well, the theme that we were winning hearts and minds, clearly now, in retrospect, only occurred in the hearts and the minds of those who were making that decision. They had no basis, no logical, cogent basis with which to base these things. They were not there. So it's easy to say, from 2,000 miles away, security at Benghazi, that too can go straight to hell. I'm not going to do it because that would make us look weak after our president has already stated we are strong. So that you're already walking into a situation. Everyone there was already in a situation where they were already doomed to failure. We all know. Ken, we know that the narrative of, well, it was this terrible video. And by the way, I happened to see some of that video. It was a terrible video.
Yeah,
the production values were rotten.
Terrible.
If you ever saw that video, my God, it was horrible.
Porno films were made better.
The acting. I know children that can make videos better than that. But the thing of it is, that's where it started. And then Susan Rice, if you recall, the very next day, went out on all the Sunday shows, and she basically trotted out the narrative that it's because of this video, there were riots, and you know what? And here's the thing that particularly irks me. D.C., the Obama administration, Hillary Clinton, Susan Rice, and all of the others pointed and wagged their fingers in the face of Americans and said, it's because of you, Americans, terribly racist you are, that this occurred. If only you would be more understanding of Islam, this would not have occurred. These are people, poor people who have no jobs, and it's because of that and the circumstances that you're at fault. And to say that, and to lie with such bare, naked falsehoods to everyone in front of us is reprehensible.
Yeah.
It's just reprehensible, considering that particular night, at some point, Hillary Clinton wrote an email to Chelsea and said, no, yes, it's because it was attacked. There was no video involved. And also wrote a particular note to the leader, the president of Egypt at the time, and said the same thing. They perfectly well understood and knew the reasonings for the attack. Trying to deal, here's another thing. For those who haven't seen the movie, and there's a book behind it, and the rest of the people that were involved in the Benghazi attack, If you haven't, go out and see the movie, 13 Hours of Benghazi.
13 hours.
Or buy the book.
Mm-hmm.
Or see them both. Buy the book, see the movie. Because all of the people that were involved in that, the survivors, all said that the movie was exactly like what happened. So when people say that no, at no time were Americans denied assistance in any fashion, officially or unofficially, that's a falsehood.
Exactly.
And then Hillary Clinton having the temerity to state to the two parents of the survivors, the father and the mother, at separate events, and say it was because of a terrible video that your son died, knowing full well that's a nut, that that was a falsehood. And again, trying to place blame upon Americans, it's beyond.
Also, and continuing on your thoughts here, she later goes on, in fact, it was earlier this year, she goes on an interview on Fox News with Chris Wallace and denies she ever said it was a video to those two parents, one of which actually wrote down the words in a diary that he refers back to every time he goes on the air. She denies having said it, and then says, well, you know, when people are grieving, you know, they hear any kind of thing. She is an offense to what it means to be an American, number one, in my opinion. Number two, she should have never been invited. Neither should Barack Obama have ever been invited to the celebration of the 9/11 memorial or remembrance. But I want to go to this right now, because a lot of people have been following the Exceptional Conservative Show, especially on Facebook. And they're not as brave as I am. Somebody told me, always be brave. Don't die a coward. So I have to be brave. And I've been putting a lot of stuff out there, throwing out some feelers that maybe she's suffering from pneumococcal meningitis. Others have told me she may be suffering from Alzheimer's. Some have said she may be suffering from Parkinson's disease. There are pictures of her where the bottom of her pants, her light pantsuits, are darker than her top, meaning that she has some type of diaper condition. And according to your writings, in 2009, in a fall at the White House, she broke her elbow, which means that she was a high draft pick, but apparently this is not going to work out. We're going to have to send her down to the minor leagues. In 2011, she falls boarding a plane. And this is not Bill slapping her. She fell. In 2012, she fell at home. And now she has a blood clot. And 2016, Hillary struggles to go up the stairs. She has a traveling assistant physician that's part of the Secret Service. She has nurses that travel with her. And the Secret Service have been told, whenever anything happens, surround her so that no cameras can be around her. I want to play this part for you. And then I want your commentary on the impact, the real impact. This is not Fox News. This is not MSNBC or CNN. This is Mark the Bloviating Zeppelin, who has the heart of America's voter. What is the impact of Hillary Clinton's health concerns? Let me play this clip first.
Serious underlying disease. It's a close call as to whether they should have said it. On Friday, she appeared to be able to sort of walk right through it without any obvious side effects. Well, she had them on Sunday. I think this is another case of the cover-up being worse than the crime. If it is what they say it is, this is totally benign. They should have explained it right away. And this, just as everybody can see, it just adds to the impression that these people are simply incapable of telling the truth, the simple truth. And on things where they're not really culpable, They should easily be able to explain it. They find a way to make themselves make her look untrustworthy, and that's
Mark the Bloviating Zeppelin. Is she untrustworthy? Can we trust her that she has pneumonia?
There are so many components to this, I almost don't know where to start. It's interesting that the leftist media, if you recall, had been saying for quite some time, almost directly up to that particular morning, that those people who were attempting in any fashion whatsoever to fixate upon the health of Hillary Clinton were simply the crazy. They were Trumpers, etc. The Washington Post on September 6th, there's a headline by Chris Cillizza, says, "Can we just stop talking about Hillary Clinton's health now?" Okay, with that in mind, last Sunday, September 11th, Hillary Clinton's health, this is a headline by Chris Cillizza in the Washington Post, Hillary Clinton's health just became a real issue in the presidential campaign. You know why?
Why is that?
Because it was too obvious, it was too obvious that even the most brain dead of us could not ignore. I'm sure you watched the video of her attempting to get into the van. I'm sure you have.
The lost shoe event. I'm sorry.
There are a number of things, a number of screw-ups that occurred in that particular thing. If you have a protectorate, someone that if you're a Secret Service agent, for example, your protectorate is supposed to have everything already set up. The fact that she had to wait for the van spoke volumes to me, and that is they weren't anticipating this, they didn't see it coming, and it was of criticality. It was absolutely critical. They were behind the 8 ball, and they were pooping Twinkies, let us say, for just a moment. And they did gather their thoughts. As the van came up, you'll notice in that particular video, Hillary Clinton cannot even support herself. Exactly. If you look closely and play the video a couple of times and look at photos, she is leaning against the concrete stanchion that's up against her back. Only when the van comes there and stops in front of her, the door is opened. There's another abrogation that doesn't occur. The particular agents that are assigned to the individual persons, their job is not to leave. But he left to go open the door. That's how critical that was. As she begins to take a step, they have her under both of her arms.
Yes.
She takes another step. And upon that step, she begins to fall vertically, immediately, as if she has no power whatsoever. And if they had not been there already grabbing her arms, my guess would be she would have impacted the pavement. She fell like a sack of wheat. Completely. And if it hadn't been for those individuals, she could possibly have struck her head, neck, shoulders again, creating who knows what kind of a particular medical issue. I'm sorry, Ken, you were going to say.
And Mark, when you say vertical, because a lot of people are thinking she's falling backwards, this woman is falling forward, face in the direction of the van, and you are absolutely right. If there was not someone holding her right side, she would have slammed into the foot pedal portion of the van itself, the one that you step upon to get into the van. She would have slammed right into it. That would have been a devastating thing to see on national television. Go right ahead, sir.
Well, and it was not meant to be seen. One of the other things you'll notice if you look at the video is the Secret Service agents who are present, and they're the ones in the suits.
Yes.
As soon as they begin to see that she's actually beginning to make her way into the van, they close up. And there are 3 versions of this particular video that's seen. There's one shot from sort of a right angle, one from a mid, and one from the left.
Yes.
If you look from each one of those particular videos, you'll see there is a Secret Service agent that steps in, not looking in towards the van, but out to see who is looking towards them, and they close ranks to make it as difficult as possible to see that anything in particular is occurring right there. So the whole thing was a terrible incident. Yes, she has a health problem. She has a terrible health problem. But Ken, the clues have been there for quite some time.
Yes. Yes. I mean, I'm not a medical doctor. Let me put that out there first and foremost. I don't even try to play one on television. I try not to watch one on television. So I am not telling you that this woman is suffering from this or that or the other. However, her symptoms match up with a lot of serious illnesses. And Dave Milner has a sister-in-law who's a nurse who says that based on her training in ER and in the intensive care unit, this woman has advanced Parkinson's disease. Is it important for the American people to know her health condition, or should we just apply the FDR approach to Democrats being elected to office? You need not know. And if Woodrow Wilson, don't worry about what happens once they get in office. Someone will take care of the finer details. Should we approach it that way?
Well, the first indicator that something was clearly wrong is when she lost consciousness and she had a concussion. And during the Benghazi interviews, and oh my God, have I got a bomb to break on that one, but I'll do that later.
Okay.
During the Benghazi interviews, you can see that she was wearing what is called Fresnel, F-R-E-S-N-A-L, Fresnel lenses. And those are used and worn by people who have had concussions as part of a post-concussion treatment in order to ensure that your symptoms are minimized. And so that is part of a treatment regimen for concussion. So she wasn't just wearing these odd, thick glasses because she needed to see things more close up. That's part and parcel of having already had a concussion. And the eyes, of course, being the window to the soul. Look at some of the other photographs that have occurred. Well, the photographs that occurred of her that particular day. But she didn't just wear these glasses that I'm about to tell you on that day, yesterday, Sunday, September 11th. She was wearing blue dark glasses. Mm-hmm. These particular lenses are made from a German company. And there were some people I was reading on Twitter that saying that these glasses are built to minimize the effects, the deleterious effects of those who are photosensitive and have photosensitive epilepsy. In other words, I'm sure you've heard of a thing that various flashes, etc., can create an onset of various forms of epilepsy, grand mal, petit mal seizures, and the like. There are glasses that you can get to try to mitigate these conditions. So I thought, well, that's a bunch of bull. So I went to the internet and I went to epilepsy.com, and guess what? It's not a bunch of bull. And if you look at some of the photographs, you can see Hillary's private nurse. Her name is Dr. Lisa Bardak, and she's escorting and holding onto the arm of Hillary Clinton as she's leaving the ceremony and moving forward. Also, on prior occasions, Hillary has had these exact same glasses on, and as I wrote in my article, she's not channeling Ozzy Osbourne. She's wearing them for a very specific reason, and that is to minimize the onset of any kind of seizure, which is a neurological condition. There also exists on the internet a photograph later, just after she began to exhibit symptoms, and the doctor that was with her, you can see in the photo, she's doing a finger grip test, which is neurological in nature, to see how her motor skills and motor functions have been affected, if at all. Apparently, the doctor made the decision that it's time to get Hillary the hell out of that particular situation. And so they did.
Now, I want to say this, Mark, for those download listeners who are following along with us at home who think that I am Satan incarnate because I'm exposing that Hillary Clinton has a severe medical illness and that America needs to know that if they're going to vote. They need to vote for somebody who's actually going to finish out the term by God's will. And not by the will of themselves. And the reason why she hasn't had an interview, a press conference, a real press conference, not the pseudo one she set up, the last two, but the reason why you cannot do a press conference with her is because of what you hear in the background at the White House whenever they hold a press conference. The click, 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 click of the automatic photographs. The flashing of the photographs would put her into an epileptic seizure. And that, my friends, is the most dangerous part, because then you would have to try to control her behavior, or at least get her in a position where she can be rested and brought back into a state of a normal condition. The woman is sick, and I do mean she, and I'm not talking mentally, she has a neurological illness, and she needs to admit it. Now, I want to play a clip real quick, and then I want you to I want you to make that blockbuster statement that you're going to make, Mark. I want to play Cookie Robbins, because I put this out here last night, and liberals got angry with the exceptional one. How dare you make this announcement through the British news that the Democrats are thinking another way of going with the election? We are behind Hillary 100%. We're Democrats, and if she is dead on the day we elect her, she will serve out her 4 years. You know it works well when you set it up, right? It always works well when you set it up. Come on, Mediaite. Let's get this together here. Cookie Roberts earlier today on the morning edition of National Public Radio, the thing that we play. You know what?
Earlier this year, this done
Go right ahead. Mark, do me a favor real quick. Your blockbuster statement that you were going to make, go with it.
Well, one of the interesting points is, as you already pointed out, the DNC and some of the allies are saying that it's a nightmare. One of the quotes was recently today that Hillary Clinton is a, quote, self-inflicted effing nightmare. David Axelrod, a leftist, already said on Twitter today, antibiotics can take care of pneumonia. What's the cure for an unhealthy penchant for privacy that repeatedly creates unnecessary problems? So what's the DNC doing? Well, Hillary is the person until she isn't. And so now everyone is thinking about, well, Tim Kaine. And they're also thinking about, well, who else? Joe Biden. They've got a terrible trick on their hands. They've got to try to figure out what the issue is, what the particular problem is. And just to mention the health question sort of in general, I don't wish, and I don't think any conservative wishes ill on Hillary Clinton. That's not the point. It's not just about providing some kind of whack bait for the vast right-wing basket of deplorable conspiracists. It's about Americans having full confidence in their potential president's ability to conduct work during times of crisis and to be of sound mind and spirit and body. It's about that. And it's also what I call the reverse factor as well. What would the media have done had all of these things and issues been of note for Donald Trump? Do you think that Donald Trump would have received the nothing to see here, move on phrase that was applied to Hillary Rodham Clinton? I don't believe so.
No.
And I know your time is getting tight, so I'm going to drop this one other thing. I still have contacts every now and then. Some people will speak to me, some people will not. But I still have some contacts left in the FBI and a bit in the intelligence community. There was a particular person that I spoke to not long ago in the intelligence community that happened to tell me that the incident that people were talking about this past week with regard to Hillary Clinton wearing an earpiece, and there were some photos that you could see on the internet. This particular person told me when we do surveillance operations, you know, the Secret Service has the headpiece that has the little winding cord that goes down into the suits. There are earpieces that you wear that are flesh-colored, that are custom-made in order to match the surroundings of a given individual's ear. They are custom-made. One size does not fit all. Hillary Clinton was caught in 2009 wearing an earpiece and being prompted, and she was also caught, this time by a camera, recently being prompted. I am telling you, she is being prompted and she is cheating. They cannot win if they do not cheat, and there will be an article coming on this shortly.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Cookie Roberts for you. This is the time when you should listen to the left. Cookie Roberts on MSNBC.
Cookie Roberts floats that Dems are nervously whispering about Clinton stepping aside this morning on NPR's Morning Edition. Journalist and author Cookie Roberts indicated that many of the establishment Democrats may be getting antsy over the renewed speculation of Hillary Clinton's health. Roberts' comments come just a day after the former Secretary of State was forced to leave a 9/11 remembrance ceremony early due to an illness, amid reports from her campaign that she was diagnosed with pneumonia on Friday. "It's taking her off of the campaign trail," said Roberts Monday morning, indicating that the pneumonia has forced Clinton to cancel her upcoming trip to California. But as for members of the Democratic Party, it has them very nervously beginning to whisper about her stepping aside and finding another candidate. Despite any rumors that someone like Joe Biden would be able to step in as the new standard-bearer of the Democratic Party in the absence of Hillary Clinton, Roberts admitted that the idea may be far-fetched. "I think it's unlikely to be a real thing. I'm sure it's an overreaction about an already skittish party," she added. Cookie Roberts.
There you are, ladies and gentlemen. The exceptional one. As much criticism as he's taken over the past 60 days, especially from the download Democrats who listen to my program and then come on Facebook and say rude things to him. Guess what? It seems that the exceptional one was on the right trip. Now, I want to ask you, sir, because we're running out of time. We got about 2 minutes. What impact were her falling almost face first, leaving the 9/11 remembrance, have on this election? Do they believe that she is too feeble to be president, too fallible to be president, or untrustworthy even with her own health? Which one of those?
I think cameras will be looked upon in retrospect as a tipping point. And by a tipping point, it's this. Obviously, I can't foresee the future. I don't know what is in store for her medically, physically, anything like that. But should it occur that, well, first things first, this has opened the eyes of people that heretofore, up to this point, have said, the people that have mentioned in her health, you're nothing but a bunch of twisted morons, you idiots. And now people, the blinders are starting to come off. That's one particular issue. The second issue is yesterday, I think, will be the tipping point with which, if there are, in fact, medical issues in the future, that's when people began to realize the serious nature, and I think it's gravely serious. I, for example, would not want to be Hillary Clinton right now. I think it is of gravest, serious concern. But this will be a tipping point, and already the DNC is deciding, okay, now plan B, if it's not her, then what, then whom, and what do we do? Yesterday was the fulcrum on which this now is tipping.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mark the Bloviating Zeppelin, please get his work. You can go to bloviatingzeppelin.net. And how else can they get in contact with you, sir?
BP engineers use robotic ultrasound technology so they can detect and...
Okay, thank you. Go to bloviatingzeppelin.net. Thank you, sir. God bless and good night. Ladies and gentlemen, we're coming towards the end of our program. We thank you so much for tuning in and listening to us. The truth of the matter is, ladies and gentlemen, that you need to get this information out to everybody. Hillary's sick, and her health does matter. If Black Lives Matter, her health matters even more. Simply because decisions are being made. They shouldn't be made for American voters. American voters should make decisions for those that will be placed in governance. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to say to you, a friend of mine told me, always be brave, do not die a coward. I promise you I always will. I want you to remember, without a shadow of a doubt, God has blessed America. It's time now for America to bless God. We'll see you tomorrow night. God bless and good night. Live from Washington, D.C.
You know what it is? Yeah. that's a pretty hard way to get into it all. It's teardrops artificially produced. Tears on my pillow. Little Anthony and the Imperials.
Don't remember me, but I remember you. Was not so long ago. You broke my heart in two. Tears on my pillow, pain in my heart, caused by you. If we could start anew, I wouldn't hesitate.